What a day. Um, just wrapped up a few hours ago filling in for the Jesse Kelly show on 220 stations across America, including Minneapolis, New York City, all over the country, San Antonio, Houston, you name it, all over the country. Love filling in for Jesse. It's a great fit for me to fill in and go nuts with him. I'll be on again Friday. But another big thing happened today that's bigger than what I did today. And that is this young man named Marco Hunter Lopez. Marco is in D.C. today, and Marco testified in front of U.S. Congress today. Look at that young man with a massive future ahead of him. I am honored to call him and his father, who's right behind him over his left shoulder on the right-hand side, with the handlebar mustache, his father, Marcos. Marcos and I were talking, and Marco, as they drove up to D.C. yesterday, mid-morning, I talked to them for a long time, along with my friend Kyle K.D. Sims, as we were putting together the Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Wylie East. We're going to be passing out Bibles at Wylie East High School, where the Islamic proselytizers were allowed in, passing out Qurans, hijabs, and understanding Sharia pamphlets. Unbelievable. I'll get to that in a little bit, but Marco is a hero. Marco today went in front of the white-hot spotlight of congressional testimony to testify about the Islamification of Wylie ISD schools and also in DFW. But they focused with him on his school and the fact that they could not get the Young Republican Club started up for a couple years, I believe it was. It was an unbelievable battle because the school and the district is no friend to conservatives. So we're going to get into that. I'm entitling today's show, Marco Goes to Washington. This young man is a future tremendous leader in this country. I'll go more in depth into things in a minute, but I wanted to tell you we're going to get into that. You're going to watch congressional testimony today. You're going to see, oh, there he is, Marcos Lopez. He says, you're a true friend and a true journalist. Well, first of all, thank you. And you can comment. Anybody watching can comment on there. I'll see it on the real-time message board. Thank you. It's very special to me. We met when I spoke at the Wylie ISD School Board after the incident there. And I got to know Marco and his son, Marcos. I got to know Marcos and his son, Marco. And it was an honor for him to say, I call you friend. And I feel the same way. So, we're going to be playing testimony of Marco, young Marco. He also got lots of love from Andrew Colvett from Turning Point USA. And I was honored to play Marco's testimony on the Jesse Kelly radio show tonight when I was filling in. And you're going to see Jamie Raskin, this lunatic lefty, try to pick apart and attack and intimidate Marco. But he didn't. And Marco held his ground and kind of whooped his ass. So you're going to hear about that in a moment. You're going to hear about the Dallas County Sheriff is being investigated by Attorney General Paxton, or is being threatened to be investigated because she's not complying with 287G requirements, where you have to do one of three programs to work to get illegals out of our country with ICE. You work with ICE. That and the Iran war, Texas and feds looking at suspending the gas tax, so much more. But first, I want to tell you that this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com, IRSprob.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy's been my CPA for almost 10 years and my tax planner. And just today, I was emailing back and forth with Ray, that Ray and George are two of his right and left-hand men there, and they helped me. They filed one of my annual reports I have to do with the comptroller's office, since I own a business, my business that God has provided. Want to tell you this. I got to tell you this. We have far exceeded the goal for fundraising for Bibles. Here is that information for those of you who aren't aware. We're going to be. You guys have been telling me. Every one of you, in a wonderful way, have been telling me you should pass out Bibles at the Wylie East High School, where Professional Islamic proselytizers were allowed to pass out Qurans, hijabs, and understanding Sharia pamphlets and try to convert our children into Islam. And for months, for weeks, you have been saying, why don't you pass out Bible? You should pass out Bible. So we did it. Marcos, and I, and Kyle Katie Sims have been a team, and we have been collaborating together to put this on. We are now going to be passing out Bibles. And let me tell you something, thanks to your generosity, we're going to be passing out a lot of Bibles. And I'm inviting you that we don't need any more money. We have far exceeded our expectation in less than 24 hours. I asked for $400 to buy Bibles. You guys have paid it. You've donated $655. We're going to get a lot of Bibles, and we're going to pass them out galore. Any student who wants to take 10 in, as many Bibles as we can get into that school, we're going to take. What does God do? Let me tell you what God does. My pastor and friend and sponsor of this show is my church, First Baptist Dallas. My pastor and friend, Dr. Robert Jeffers, has taught me so much over my 11 years of being a member at First Baptist Dallas, probably 12 years by now, actually, I don't know. But the point is this, when bad stuff happens, God takes and raises it up and makes it better than ever before. When our church burned to the ground in downtown Dallas, our historic sanctuary, First Baptist Dallas, where Dr. Robert Jeffers prayed to receive the Lord and was baptized. Tears flowed down his face when that church burned down, our church burned down to the ground. But out of it is coming unbelievable, massive, beautiful church, bigger and better before than our historic sanctuary. In this case, professional Muslim proselytizers were allowed into the school at Wylie East High School with the blessing of the principal, Tiffany Doolin, according to multiple eyewitness reports, students that saw her looking on as these Islamic professional proselytizers were passing these Qurans, hijabs, and Bibles out, Qurans, hijabs, and understanding Sharia pamphlets out. They told Marco Hunter Lopez that you don't need Jesus. And they had a Shahada card on the back of the Quran that said, here's how you pray to receive Muhammad and to become a Muslim. There's district-wide Islamic proselytization. And so what God's going to do with this is only what he can do. God is going to take what, like David and Goliath, the shepherd, and make him the king. God has taken those proselytizers and has taken with your donations, your generosity, and we're going to be buying hundreds of dollars of Bibles, and we're going to get 50 times more Bibles in that those Islamic proselytizers ever got in the hands of our students. We're going to do that. We're doing it with your help. Join us tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry. Hello. I'm a little tired if you can't tell. I was doing a network radio show for 3 hours. All right, so join us on Tuesday morning, May 19th at 8 a.m. in front of Wylie East High School. We're going to be passing out Bibles, and that red circle there on the right is exactly where we're going to be on the map there. So join us passing out Bibles at Wylie East High School Tuesday morning, May 19th, 8 a.m. in front of Wylie East High School. All right, I'll leave that graphic up for a minute. So we're not asking for any donations anymore. We're just asking for you to show up and be a part of it. It's going to be amazing, and we're going to be passing out Bibles to students, anybody that is coming into that entrance at the parking lot, to bring them into the school and spread them like wildfire, to do the exact opposite that the Muslims did. Let's go to Marco, though, the star of the show, the star of the day in the news cycle. On the show I filled in for today and in the national scene. He did amazing. Oh, I want to mention something else real fast. Forgive me. Congressman Keith Self, who is a very vocal proponent and advocate of calling out all the Islamification and trying to stop it at every angle he can in Dallas-Fort Worth. He's going to come on my show tomorrow at 7 p.m. So tomorrow the show will be going at 7 p.m., and we'll have Keith Self on. And you're going to hear a lot of good stuff from him. Let's go to Marco's testimony, though, because it was incredible. Here he is with Jamie Raskin, this crazed leftist from the East Coast, who he literally is like attacking Marco and trying to intimidate him and beat him down in a debate. And Marco holds his own. A 15, Andrew Colbert from Turning Point USA said 16. Marcos, the father, can tell me if it's 16 or 15. He may have turned 16, but I think he's 15. We'll see. But here he is, Jamie Raskin, and Marco whoops his ass. Here we go.
Is there anybody on the panel who thinks that we need a special law addressing any particular religious population, whether it's the Muslim, the Christian, the Jewish, the Hindu, the Mormon.
I'm going to pause it for 1 second. I tweeted this out earlier, and I'm going to keep tweeting it out. This is very important. I tweeted this out in the middle of my show, filling in for Jesse Kelly, and you have to hear this because this is so awesome. This is to Wylie ISD, all of Wylie ISD, all the people and the leftists ruining that district with letting Islam in there. I tweeted this out while I was on the air this afternoon. Hey, Wylie ISD, you're so famous today. Marco Hunter Lopez testified about you letting Islamic proselytizers in your school, and I'm talking about it on 220 radio stations today. Well played, Wylie ISD. Well played. We'll see you Monday night at the school board meeting, and then in the morning, Tuesday morning, when we pass out Bibles in front of Wylie East. Hooah! Let's go back to Marco. Here's Jamie Raskin trying to beat down Marco Hunter Lopez, the student who exposed all this.
Or what have you? Or are we just saying that everybody should be held to secular law in America? I mean, I'm happy to open it up to anybody. Mr. Hunter Lopez?
Thank you, Congressman, for the question. I think that you keep referring to a secular law. I think it's important to point out, I believe it was 56 of the 57 Declaration of Independence signers were Bible-believing, faith, church-attending Christians. I believe it was the first original 13 colonies that required a declaration of faith. So I'm not acknowledging that.
Well, wait a second. Now you're traversing my territory now, Mr. Hunter Lopez. You brought it up. Are you aware that the Constitution of the United States does not establish a religion? It forbids the establishment of religion. Are you aware that it doesn't mention God?
So the Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times. But what I was going to say...
Is the Declaration of Independence law?
So Declaration of Independence was declaring our independence from the tyranny of England.
Yeah.
But
the
what I was trying to
Constitution's
finish
the governing
is that
law.
I'm not, suggesting that we need to go back to taking, tests or saying that you have to acknowledge.
Wait, do you know
religion.
that Thomas Jefferson was denounced as an infidel who wrote the Declaration of Independence because he didn't believe in the establishment of religion, and he and Madison were emphatic about separating church and state? That's the whole glory of our constitutional design in our history, that they rebelled against centuries of religious warfare between the Catholics and the Protestants and witchcraft trials, Inquisition, Holy Crusades.
This is the mental masturbation with Jamie Raskin hour about how awesome he is. Well, he bullies a 15 or 16-year-old kid, but watch Marco whoop his ass. Again, this is only made possible by Wylie ISD. Because of you, Wylie ISD, this white-hot spotlight is on you more from the freaking state, from the Capitol, on national television, and talked about in nationally syndicated radio and TV all over this country. Great job, Wylie ISD. You're making us proud.
America proclaimed the separation of church and state, what Thomas Jefferson described in his famous letter to the Danbury Baptists as a wall of separation.
That was a letter, not a law.
Okay, so your position is that America is a theocracy?
You didn't let me finish my original statement, and I understand you have limited time, but what I was going to say is I'm not suggesting we need to go back to anything that's in writing, but what I am saying is we need to acknowledge...
Oh, I think we should go back to something in writing. I think we should go back to the First Amendment.
Oh, yes, the Constitution,
yes.
Obviously, but what I'm saying is that, how I said original colonies were requiring declaration of faith to run for office. I'm not saying we have
That's why we have a First Amendment.
What I'm saying is that we do...
That's precisely why Jefferson wrote it.
We do need to acknowledge our Christian heritage in America. That's what I'm trying to...
You can acknowledge whatever heritage you want, but you can't impose an establishment of religion on other people. That's the greatness.
I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying we need to acknowledge our heritage. That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. Jamie Raskin says you can't establish... let me go back on that because you can't establish a religion.
Can acknowledge their own.
He's saying you can't force people to comply with your own religion. Watch this.
Obviously, but what I'm saying is that, how I said original colonies were requiring declaration of faith to run for office. I'm not saying we have
That's why we have a First Amendment.
What I'm saying is that we do...
That's precisely why Jefferson wrote it.
We do need to acknowledge our Christian heritage in America. That's what I'm trying to...
You can acknowledge whatever heritage you want, but you can't impose an establishment of religion on other people. That's the greatness.
I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying we need to acknowledge our heritage. That's what I'm saying.
Everybody can acknowledge their own heritage. Do you agree with that?
American heritage, not just any heritage, is what I'm saying.
Oh, you don't think that you're allowed to acknowledge your Christian heritage or your Jewish heritage or your Muslim heritage?
I'm saying you members of Congress need to acknowledge American heritage.
Here's where Jamie Raskin left such a massive hole that you can drive a truck through it. He says He's trying to say that Marco is trying to impose an establishment of religion. The only person or entity trying to impose an establishment of religion are the Islamic proselytizers trying to establish Islam as the official religion of Wylie ISD and to convert the children of Wylie ISD. That is the only entity trying to impose an establishment of religion, is the Islamic people in Wylie ISD trying to convert the children. 8th grader, mom has to pull the kid out because they're converting him in class in a separate school in Wylie ISD. The only entity trying to impose an establishment of religion, in Jamie Raskin's own words, is the Islamic community inside of Wylie ISD, at least some of them that are trying to do this. That's who's trying to establish a religion. And the religion is Islam, and it's in that district. Let me also make a point of something. I want to go to a certain point of view here. I want to get the right one. I'm kind of scanning through the video so I can pause it on the right one, because I want to show you something that is important to me. And I want to, because it matters a lot to me. Hold on. Wait, almost there. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause that. Do you see who that is again? Marco Hunter Lopez, the young man, the star from Wylie East High School. To the right of his face is a man with a handlebar mustache. That is his dad. And I've seen enough to know what makes this young man who he is, so moderate in his tone, so well prepared, so surprisingly and amazingly in control, in command of the facts, and himself in this very high pressure and unbelievable position to be in as a young man. And the reason why he is that way is because the man to the right of his face on the right-hand side of the screen with the handlebar, that's his dad. His dad and his mom. I've met them both. I've talked to them extensively. I've met his grandparents. The reason that kid is that good, the reason that young man is who he is today, is because he has parents that love him and that are protecting him and that are growing him up to be an amazing leader. This is a phenomenon. I don't see people like this much at all. This is an amazing thing going on right here. The reason he's there is because his dad there on the right and his mom, they have raised him right. Listen to me very closely. And I'm going to say something else. If you want to destroy a suburb or a city, we'll go small, a suburb. Let's take Wylie. I don't care where it is. Or Argyle. I don't know, Mesquite. If you want to ruin that suburb and destroy it, you take the man out of the home. The way to destroy a community is to take the man out of the home. The way to destroy the county or a city is to take the man out of the home. Get as many men out of the house as you can. That's how you destroy a society. What makes this young man who he is this guy on the right. Him and his mom. Very important. Very important. I thank God for the ability of my wife and I to raise our children the way we have. I thank God to see what they've grown into, and even now my wife is just amazing with my daughter. That's how it works. That's how you do it right. Let's go on to Chip Roy giving the floor to Marco in another part. Oh, here we go. Okay. Marcos says that, okay, because Andrew Colvett from Turning Point USA was saying that Marco is 16, and I said, no, he's 15, but guess what? He just turned 16 a few days ago. How the heck does Turning Point USA know so much about him? Hopefully Marco will pop up with them, because that's where he should be on the air next. Let's go to Chip Roy introducing Marco and his testimony today in front of Congress as well. Marco goes to Washington from Wylie East.
I will now recognize Mr. Hunter Lopez for his 5 minutes.
Chairman Roy, Ranking Member Scanlon, and distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Marco Hunter Lopez. I am a 16-year-old sophomore at Wylie East High School in Wylie, Texas. I've been invited to speak regarding an incident that occurred on February 2nd on my campus in a widespread effort across Texas and the nation. Last year as a freshman, I founded the Republican Student Club because I wanted to foster a space for students who share the same values. What should have been a simple act of student leadership became a prolonged battle against school administrators who treated my group differently from every other club on campus. On August 16th of 2024, we met every requirement: 10 members, a teacher sponsor, in a room. Other groups, including the Muslim Student Association and organizations supporting gender-affirming ideology, were approved without issue. Our club was denied for being political in nature. Administrators first claimed a district-wide policy against political clubs. Then, after weeks of emails requesting the policy in writing, they admitted it was simply how they felt. Only after more than a month of emails, pushback, and enormous efforts were we approved. Even then, we faced hostile scrutiny. Principals were caught taking down our approved posters while I was out of town. I have a documented timeline of specific instances of an unfair treatment, being pulled into the principal's office, cornered, and talked down to. After we hosted two guest speakers last year, the principal tried to impose new rules on the fly. My father even had to help create a guest speaker form to protect me as a minor. This pattern of censorship against our club stands in stark contrast to how administrators have handled the promotion of Islamic ideology, and including Sharia. On February 2nd, I was leaving a meeting and was walking to the cafeteria for lunch, and I saw a large booth labeled Islam set up in the school. 4 adult women from the organization Why Islam were there. I was confused and did not want to give it attention, but after discussing it with my friends, we decided to approach the booth. I had a discussion with the women, one in particular who they kept referring me to because she knew most of the theological questions. As we tried to understand their goal, I looked over and saw multiple pamphlets spread out, one of which was explicitly titled Understanding Sharia. This was very concerning to me and other students. They were also making Qurans available that include a Shahada card on the last page instructing students how to convert. Quote, to become a Muslim, one needs to make the following declaration. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except God, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. This openly occurred during lunch with administrators present who did nothing to intervene. The dangers of allowing Sharia to be promoted in public schools are real and immediate. Sharia is not simply a personal religious observance. It is a comprehensive legal and political system that includes unequal treatment, restrictions on free speech, harsh punishments, and fundamental incompatibility with the U.S. Constitution, Texas law, and American values of individual liberty and equality. Handing out materials that present Sharia favorably to minors during the school day without parental approval risks normalizing ideas that undermine the very principles our public schools are supposed to uphold. This is not neutral education. It is ideological promotion under the guise of diversity and inclusion. The contrast with my own club could not be clearer. While the Republican Student Club faced denial, censorship, poster removal, and hostile oversight, an outside organization was giving easy access to distribute Sharia-related materials directly to students. Administrators not only allowed it, they actively promoted Islamic events. The principal has enthusiastically participated.
And that's where the clip ends, but that he's talking about this, the Wylie East principal who needs to be fired. And here's the thing. She has to be fired. And we're not going to stop until she is fired. Principal Tiffany Doolin wearing her hijab on World Hijab Day last year. 1 year later is when she allowed these professional Islamic proselytizers to come in to teach kids to worship Allah and to become a Muslim and pray to receive Muhammad. That is exactly what she allowed in, according to Marco and some other students that have witnessed this, said she was right there looking on. This is what she wanted. And Wylie ISD has refused to fire her. So, I will remind you again, first of all, that none of this, Marco being able to speak in front of Congress and the world and the country in Washington, D.C. today, Marco being talked about and played on 220 radio stations across America, being mentioned and talked about by Turning Point USA. None of this would be possible without Wylie ISD for allowing all of this to happen. Wylie ISD, we are still coming for you. And we're going to keep coming for you until you fire that principal. And join us Tuesday morning. You have donated. We got another donation like a minute ago. You guys are insane. We just asked for $400 to buy Bibles. You've donated $665. You don't have to give any more money, please. That's more than enough to get the Bibles we need. And then here we go. So join us Tuesday, May 19th at 8 a.m. in front of Wylie East High School. There's your little circle where we're going to be passing out the Holy Bible to everybody as they're coming into the parking lot. We're if a student wants to take 5 or 10 in or 15 in to pass out to students inside of the school, that's what we want. Student-led faith stuff is A-okay in schools. It's just when adults, unless you're Islamic. If you're Islamic, you can do whatever you want. If you're Islamic, you can convert kids to Allah inside of the school. You can go in, a pro. You've been trained professionally to make children become Muslims and pray to receive Allah. At least in my ISD. So if you're Muslim, you can do whatever you want. All right. This show, I got so much more too, by the way. Coming up next, I have Ken Paxton is going after the Dallas County Sheriff, who wears a cowboy hat to make it look like she's some kind of a trooper, conservative type when she's not. She's being threatened now to be sued. She's under investigation by Ken Paxton for not complying with ICE laws. I should say Texas laws that say you have to comply and work in one of 3 287G programs where they work with ICE, or else. Senator John Cornyn, a desperate freaking ploy tonight. It is insanely ridiculous and self-effacing and naked how ridiculous this is, what he's trying to do tonight for a ploy in his desperation to beat Ken Paxton, which he will not. But first, before we get to all that, and I got some more great video about the AOC abortion in the water. That's another thing that came up from a crazy leftist in Congress today. But first, this show is brought to you by IRSPROB.com, IRSProb.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. Randy Martin's been my CPA for almost 10 years now, and my tax planner. If you need a good person to be your CPA, it's Randy Martin, and your tax planner, I should say, especially if you have IRS problems or you want a good tax planner. Those are the 2 big things that he does. Here, Randy and his team and I are, I'd say about 9 years ago. Ray, on the left you got George, then to the right you have Ray, then me, and then Randy. I am not a CPA, nor have I, but I'm on the radio, so I might as well be one, right? And then there's Randy getting the Longhorn 100 winner award for 2026 with his beautiful wife, Norma. And congrats, Randy. He is the best. Go to IRSPROB.com, IRSPROB.com, or call 214-214-3000, 214-214-3000. And you now have a plumber and a foundation company that you can trust. You don't ever want a foundation company separate than the plumbing company, because they will mess each other up and they will blame each other, and you will get the shaft, the royal bone, as it were. Due West Foundation and Plumbing has been doing my plumbing and my foundation work for all 11 years. I didn't buy this house I'm sitting in until they did a static plumbing test, inspection on the foundation. They gave me the go-ahead, and guess what? 11 years later, and then, of course, naturally things happen, like my water heater was replaced by Due West. I had a new bathroom remodel. They did all the plumbing in that. The biggest job they've done is going under my house and replacing 17 feet of pipe under my concrete slab. When you do that and remove all that dirt, you have to do piers, and that's what they do best. They're a foundation company, and they did the plumbing. Guess what? Plumbing foundation. Don't use anybody else but Due West. They're owned by my friend Jim Dutton, who's the host of Texas Home Improvement, and he's an incredible friend. My wife worked there for 3 years at Due West Foundation and Plumbing, by the way. 3 years she worked there with Jim's wife, Mary. We're friends with Johan and Adam. They're also in the company. Jim's dad started it in the 70s. Due West, du-west.com. That's du-west.com. Or call 972-406-0912, 972-406-0912, du-west.com. If you want the best, call Due West. I get to tell you about a roofer who is now my roofer. I'm getting my whole roof redone soon. In front of my house, there is a sign for my roofing company. Find out who they are and why they're so awesome, and see some video of me and my roofer on the roof having fun in just a few. But right now, Ken Paxton is now investigating the Dallas Sheriff's Office over refusal to work with ICE. The law, Senate Bill 8, was passed saying that you have to, any county that has over 100,000 people has to do one of 3 ICE programs. One is, they're all called 287G. One, my favorite one, is what we should be doing in Texas, Governor Abbott. Governor DeSantis has all of his troopers in the state of Florida are 287G. What does that mean? When they conduct a traffic stop, they can do they're just like their ICE. They've been deputized, quote unquote, by ICE, and they've got all the software in their squad car, and they're trained how to take somebody they pulled over for a stop, no matter what, if they charge them with anything or not, and they run their information and find out if they're illegal. Bang! We should be doing that for all of our troopers. Number two, that's one program. You can do that for sheriff's deputies, police departments. Another one they do is there's three methods. You got to pick one, otherwise you're not complying with the law. Ken Paxton is alleging that the Dallas County Sheriff is not complying with the law, Marion Brown, who wants to seem like she's Texan because she's wearing a hat, but she's just another woke leftist liberal. The other one is 287G. 287G is in the jail, where you have ICE computer systems, and the jailers, the people inside of the jail that book the people, or that check them in, they do their ICE deputized, and so they run it through ICE, and they find out if they're an illegal when they book them in the jail. So then after that, their ICE is notified, so that when they're getting ready to release them, they go right to ICE without having left the prison, so everybody's safe. There's no weapons on them. And there's one more, and there's one that's investigation, one's apprehension, one's detention. So I described detention. I think apprehension is the other one. There's one for investigation. I don't know that one. Anyway, she's not doing any of them, is what Paxton alleges. He also says that Bexar County, which is insanely leftist, remember the sheriff there tried to prosecute Governor DeSantis for flying the illegals to that was so great. Martha's Vineyard. And then they used the military at gunpoint and trucked them out. Oh, we love you, illegals. Remember they go, oh, we love you. Oh, you're not here doing my lawn or dishes? Then get out. We're calling the army on you. Those leftist hens. Anyway. So they're going, he's going after, he says, you have to comply. If you don't show me a plan to comply with this law, by, I think he said, is it July 1st or something of that nature? Yeah, I don't know, it's somewhere. But the point is, he's saying if you're not in compliance and you don't have a plan, then I'm coming for you. It's important to also mention from the Dallas Express, they report this, that, as you recall, Governor Greg Abbott threatened Dallas. They would lose $32 million in public safety grants, and they would also lose $55 million for FIFA World Cup if they don't comply with SB 8 as well. And I was floored at how pathetic and pro-illegal the Dallas Police Association is. They used to be a decent group, but not anymore. Don't give them a dime of your money. Don't pay them any respect. I love our cops. You know that more than anything. My dad was a Chicago police officer. I come from a multi-generational police family. All right? But the Dallas Police Association is a joke. You know who's not, what police associations are not a joke and not a disgrace? Fort Worth Police Officers Association. They're great. Chicago Police Officers Association. They're great. Sheriff Brown pushed back on Paxton's interpretation of the law, saying that she has till December 1st to comply, but we'll see how that battle plays out. By the way, Dallas just basically said, well, we are now going to comply. How we're going to comply is we're allowing, if any Dallas police officer wishes to ask people who they interface with in their job, if they're illegal, they can. If they want to hold them for ICE and call ICE, they can, but we're not making it mandatory. Wait till the first case happens where a Dallas cop does that and then is demoted or retribution is done upon them, and you'll see a firestorm. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in the next month or two. I don't know. But remember, Dallas Police Association is a freaking joke, and they're leftists. Flush them down the toilet. This also comes in from the Dallas Morning News reporting on ICE with Dallas County. The three models, two are based in jails. So there's basically, it's the jail one, which I mentioned. The third is a task force that I told you about, where you go out there, out and about, and you're ICE on the prowl, even though you're an officer. It's great. The city of Dallas turned down. Oh, this is something else. How many officers are the Dallas Police short of? Remember the mandate that was passed in for the pension and the amount of police in the city of Dallas. Thank God that passed. And guess what? They're still not in compliance, to the best of my knowledge. We are 4, 5, 6, or 7, or 800 officers short in Dallas Police. They turned down $25 million from the feds last year because they didn't want to partner with ICE. They turned down $25 million. Don't give them a dime. They're trying to put a tax on our house, raise our taxes for our property taxes to pay for free child care for people who don't want to raise their own children. Hell no. They're trying to put a property tax on us to pay for homeless programs that'll undoubtedly waste the money and tickle them with a feather and not hold them accountable. Hell no. They turned out $25 million because they don't want to work with ICE. Hire the freaking cops you owe us. Take the money, you sick bleeps. You need every dime you can get. Makes me mad, can you tell? Oh my gosh. You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. Do you remember Chief U-Haul? Renee Hall, the disgraced former head of Dallas Police, the Dallas Police. Chief Renee Hall, a.k.a. I call her Sparkles because she wore her diamond-encrusted glasses. They're fake diamond-encrusted glasses, too. Sparkles, a.k.a. Chief U-Haul. Remember she said she left and she said, I have job opportunities. She left because the homicide rate and the crime rate skyrocketed because Chief U-Haul was completely a total woke joke. She humped the leg of the black baby beater convicted of beating a black baby boy. His black baby mama, who he refuses to put a ring on her finger, but he spawns children with her, Dominique Alexander. So he beats little black baby boys. His baby mama says he beat the hell out of her when she had that press conference, broke her toe. But I've never seen him gone after a black man. He only goes after black baby boys, little black children, and black women. Chief U-Haul humped that guy's leg, kissed his butt, pulled him in on things, as well as let him go Crusoe, the DA who's outgoing. We have an absolute maniac, lunatic, BLM activist coming in instead of him. It's going to be worse. But Chief U-Haul, Sparkles, actually wrote a column in the Dallas Morning News. All she did was skyrocket homicides. For every day she worked and every new policy she initiated, more people were killed. She literally was hired, unbeknownst to many of us, she was hired to drive up the homicide rate and drive up the crime rate. She did a great job at that. She said, I'm leaving. I have more opportunities. She had nothing. I checked year after year, month after. That chick didn't have a damn job to save her life because no one wanted to hire her. Sparkles. She was like a low-rent Cuban dictator. She had people professionally, like she had cops or city employees that drove her around like she was the mayor of New York. When I interned at Dateline NBC, Dateline, in 1995, summer of 95 in New York City, when I interned at Dateline NBC, we did a short little segment with Mayor Giuliani, America's mayor, on something, and we met him below the Brooklyn Bridge, at the base of the Brooklyn Bridge. And he pulls up out of nowhere. They're all set up. They're waiting for him. And all of a sudden, boom, he comes in like a president. He's got two or three of these, big SUVs, black, tinted windows and everything. And it was almost like a small presidential detail because he's the mayor of New York City. That's how Chief U-Haul ran her office. She literally was like a little Cuban dictator. She had people driving her around in a car. She pulled up, being driven one of these SUVs, got out of the car and had her sunglasses on and did some stupid woke social media post like a low-rent Cuban dictator. And she had someone that worked for her at the city, worked at the city, bring her coffee and walk up while she's doing it. This chick thought she was freaking a Cuban dictator or a Venezuelan dictator. This chick has no freaking job. So it was so funny to see her name in the Dallas Morning News. She wrote a column, the column is irrelevant. The fact is that she wrote a column and she thinks she's relevant. That's what's funny. And I'll share this with you. All that matters is, what does it say at the end? Does she have a job? I swear to you, at the end, what does it say she does now? because she's not a police chief. She hasn't been since we fired her ass, since she left. It says here, Renee Hall is the former police chief in Dallas. That's right, former, from years ago. There's been 2 chiefs since she left. She's 3 times over yesterday's news. Chief U-Hall is the former police chief in Dallas. So I'm like, oh, okay, what does it say she's doing? She currently serves as the president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. For her own sake, I hope she's getting paid, but she's not a chief because she can't be a chief because nobody wants to hire her. She is unhireable because she's grossly incompetent, and whenever she is hired as a chief, she ends up getting people killed much more than when she's not hired. She literally, her role is to drive up homicides and crime. That is what she's perfect at. And the best part of her whole administration was, remember, she's like, this is my crime plan after a year or two, and everything was homicides were insane. Remember when at the BLM rally, remember the BLM riots? They weren't rallies, it was a riot. It was a riot, looting, assaulting. A man was beaten almost to death with a rock nearby where my old radio station is. I drove in that time during the godless, anti-God, marriage, anti-man being the head of the household, Marxist, communist, Black Lives Matter, defrauders, and hooligans. When I drove downtown for like those 2 or 3 days, whatever it was, I have never driven with my extra magazines filled with bullets, but I did because the terrorists were attacking people, dragging people, blocking traffic, and terrorizing and beating people in their cars. And so for several days, I carried both magazines loaded in my pocket along with my magazine around in the chamber. I had 13 ready to go in my gun, and then another 24 and 2 magazines just in case. That's who Chief U-Hall is. And when that happened to her, by the way, she was kissing their ass, marching with them. And what they did on that night, they slashed her tires of her squad car and smashed in her windows with rocks. That's what kissing the asses of criminals gets you. That's what worshiping and humping the leg of Dominique Alexander, the black baby beater, and alleged black baby mama beater. Well, she said he beat the hell out of her. That's what that gets you. And that's what appeasing godless, communist, Marxist, terrorist, Black Lives Matters gets you. All right. John Cornyn is insanely, there's 2 words for what John Cornyn just did today. You're not going to believe this. Desperate ploy. Desperate ploy. He did something today, brand new, that I literally saw it. I laughed. I couldn't believe he did this in just 1 second. But first, I'm really excited to tell you about Blue Ribbon Roofing. They are replacing my roof. And what really makes me happy is that a lot of their clients are USAA. I'm USAA. USAA is the best insurance company in America, but you have to be military or the child of military to get in. And I thank God they're the best company you can get. And Blue Ribbon works with a ton of USAA folks. Here is the Blue Ribbon team. They win Best of McKinney year after year after year because they're that good. We have in that picture John Hopkins and Tish on the right, husband, wife, 32 years they've been running this amazing business. On the left, we have John's son, Trevor, and his wife, Jennifer. It is a family affair, and it's a fantastic roofing company. John came over to my house the other day. Here he was up on the roof. He found a lot of stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, I want you to be able to see me when I say this. I thought my roof was fine. It's like a 7-year-old roof. He went up and inspected with me, and dude, he showed me so much damage that I never even knew existed. I'm going to be showing you more of it in the coming days. But here is John and me on the roof together.
See that white line?
Yeah, what is that?
That's the fiberglass mat underneath the shingle, meaning all the shingle's gone. Now you're down to the fiberglass mat.
I never would have recognized any of this or noticed it.
Of course you wouldn't. It'd be like you handing me your microphone. I don't know.
I love this guy. Of course you wouldn't have recognized it. It's like you handing me my microphone. Let's go back. This guy's really funny. He's a great guy.
Your microphone. I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
Do you want to do a show for me?
I don't know anything about it. I got to depend on you.
I think you want to. I guess I'll do the show then.
Yeah, you do the show. And I'll do the roofing.
There we were on my roof, It was love at first sight. I found my roofer. It's Blue Ribbon Roofing. And here's how you get to them. It is blueribbondfw.com, blueribbondfw.com, blueribbondfw.com. They're amazing, and they're handling everything for me. They're meeting my insurance adjuster and everything. 32 years, a lot of USA customers like me, and they teach you to keep your roof as new as possible, by the way. Here's an example. I didn't know this. Some insurance companies, they're not paying out what the roof should be because after about 8 years, some insurance companies pay, quote, ACV, not the RCV, or they do the opposite. I can't remember, but one is the actual cost value and the other is the real cash value, meaning if your roof is about 8 years or older, some of your insurance companies won't pay for the whole roof to be replaced. They only gave you what it's worth, regardless of your deductible. So you need to have them on your roof to check it out. Don't wait. I thought that my roof was fine. Well, guess what? I have damage, a lot of it. Okay, let's get into John Cornyn. You're not going to believe this. He literally, today, and the 2 words I tweeted out with this story when I saw it was desperate ploy. Today, John Cornyn proposed naming a major Texas highway, US 287. John Cornyn proposes naming major Texas highway Trump Interstate. Now, why do you suppose John Cornyn would propose naming a highway Trump Interstate today? Do you think maybe it's something to do with he wants a Trump endorsement because he's going to lose to Paxton? Do you think maybe it's because he told all of us and the whole country and the world in the run-up to the 2020 elections that Trump couldn't win the election? He said Trump should drop out. He shouldn't run. He can't win the election. And now he humps Trump's leg because he knows that one of the ways to win Trump's, endorsement and support is to hump his leg, is to say how awesome he is. That's true. It works. It works with a lot of people. So remember this. John Cornyn said Trump shouldn't run. He should drop out. He can't win. John Cornyn also did an advertisement years back saying that he supported amnesty. And it was in Spanish. John Cornyn, the dreamers. So, John, we know who you really are. And here's what he said with this. This is such a naked ploy. Texas is Trump country, says John Cornyn. Gee, I wonder if it's because you're in a runoff and you're about to get your butt handed to you. Texas is Trump country, and this bill cements that legacy by designating nearly 1,800 miles of open road from Texas Gulf Coast to the edge of the U.S.-Canadian borders, I-47, to be forever remembered as Trump Interstate. Kissing his butt, I see. Get out of here. You're going to lose. I'm glad. Let's see what else I have with this. Here we go. Texas is looking at suspending we might in Texas suspend the gas tax. Also, Trump may suspend the gas tax. I agree with both. We need to kick Iran's butt. We need to finish the job. There's some really messed up stuff that came out today. I'm going to share with you on Iran. And we have to finish the job. I agreed with what we did, but Trump trying to say we've got a negotiation, we got a deal, which he knows now it's not going to happen, and that this is a new regime, that's a lie. I love Trump. I voted for him every time, and I will still vote for him for another election, another term. But you cannot do any negotiations with the terrorists. They are terrorists. It is the same regime. The gay Ayatollah is the son of Mustafa Khomeini is the son of Ayatollah Khomeini. And even if he's dead, which he very well could be, it's still the same people running everything. There is no new regime. We need to finish the damn job. And in between finishing the job and right now, we need to suspend the national gas tax, the federal gas tax. That's 18.5 cents. And Texas needs to suspend the 20 cent per gallon gas tax. Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, who's a friend of this show, I haven't had him on in a long time, but he's a friend of the show. He says that we need to get that gas tax and pause it. So Texas is 20, the federal is 18.5. Basically, that would be 38.4 cents. That would bring us into territory of about 380. Much better. I agree. We should do that. Let's go to the Iran war. This is stuff I already knew and you already knew. But it's bad. From the New York Times, which is wrong most of the time, and woke and leftist, but in this case they're right. New York Times, classified assessments, Iran has regained most of the missile sites and the launchers and the underground facilities. Most alarming, Iran has restored operational access to 30 of the 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz. This is what happens when you make a ton of money on oil and don't care about the people. You'll starve them, you'll kill them, you'll murder 40,000 of them in the streets if they're protesting. And all you do with most of your money is buy and build weapon systems and support terrorism. That's where probably 80% of every dime they have goes. And then probably most of the rest goes to their own wealth, sustaining the infrastructure of the country, and then a microcosm to the people. So what that means is they've got almost every single 30 of 33 missile sites are ready to go on the Strait of Hormuz. The assessments show from intelligence officials that Iranians can use mobile launchers inside the sites to move missiles to other locations. In some cases, they can launch missiles directly from launch pads that are part of the facilities. Only 3 of the missile sites along the whole 33 of them on the strait remain inaccessible. By the way, it is not the Straits of Hormuz. There's only one strait. It is a strait, kind of like that. It is not a straits where 2 of them are there or more. Come on. Iran is also, I had to double check because I'm like, is this like from today? It is. Iran, frighteningly close to a nuclear weapon, Energy Secretary Chris Wright warns. He warned today that Iran is frighteningly close to developing weapons-grade enriched uranium. I thought we got rid of it. Here's the thing. We have to finish the job to remove the regime. Not a quarter of it, all of it. We need to get the weapons into the people there. Thank God that we have the Second Amendment. Thank God that we have so many more guns than we have people in this country. Because Iran could never happen here. Venezuela with Hugo Chavez and then Nicolas Maduro could never happen if they had weapons like we do. Thank you, God, that we have a Second Amendment. The Iranian people need guns so they can fight back like they want to be and not be slaughtered when they rise up. 80 to 85% of the people are highly educated. They are not like anywhere in the Middle East. They're their own people. They're Persians. And they don't have a problem with Israel at all or the United States of America. It is the 10 to 15% of Islamists that run the regime in the country. Let's go to, this is so much fun. Yesterday I played you Karen Bass saying that we need to give free teeth to meth heads that lose all their teeth and that are bums living on the streets. Now today we find out that Gavin Newsom is giving not laptops but digital tablets to every prison inmate across the state of California, including death row, at no cost. It is a step towards digital equity for justice-impacted people. Justice impact, you mean criminals, thugs, killers, rapists. Dozens of death row inmates told, and this is a report from Christopher Rufo with City Journal, that inmates are using their devices to watch pornography and have explicit sexual conversations. Some prisoners are using their tablets to groom minors. One prisoner on death row was approached by a 22-year-old lady from Germany who's in college, and she said, I want to do a thesis paper, and I want to do it on you. He says, if you show me your breastises, I will do it. She showed him her breastises, and he did it. So they're grooming children and victimizing them. They're watching pornography, and all because Gavin Newsom gave it to him for free. So that's the Democrat Party. Here's my favorite thing of the day. A poll shows AOC leading the field of potential 2028 Democrat candidates. Yes. Why do I say that? Well, she doesn't know where Venezuela is. Watch this.
We look at...
But she knows how to pronounce Venezuela. When you talk about Venezuela, watch this.
what happened in Venezuela, for example.
Venezuela. I am from a leafy suburb of New York, a well-off suburb, and I called myself Sandy But now I say Venezuela. And then she'll say in a moment, Maduro.
You know, we look at what happened in Venezuela, for example.
Venezuela.
It is not it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can
Maduro. Venezuela. Maduro.
kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And
Oh my gosh, they're clapping. They're clapping. Well, let's look at that map on the left. She says the nation is below the equator. Let's see. I'm looking at the equator. Is Venezuela below the equator? I don't know. You're looking at the same thing. What do you think? Aren't you happy she's the leading candidate right now, polling the highest among Democrats to be president? And then there's this awesome gem. Watch this.
Offer. And to all of you, and Congressman, I'll start with you, would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
You know, I think that this is such a, I think that this is a,
Today, Junior!
This is, of course, a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation. And for
I pray to God she's the candidate. Ted Cruz could beat her in his sleep. What else? Oh, I have one more thing for this. Is so much. This is great. Watch this. This is a this was a gift moments before going on the air tonight with you. Here we go. This is a lunatic senator, Democrat from Washington State, alleging that there is. Saying that people are alleging there is abortion in the water. Abortion in the water. What does that even mean? There's abortion in the water. Okay, here's water. There's people saying there's abortion in here. What are you talking about? Watch this.
Do you seriously believe there's abortion in the water like some of the far-right activists are suggesting?
I have not. You just said abortion in the water?
That's what some far-right...
Let me go back because it was a little quiet. I had to pull it up. Watch this.
Do you seriously believe there's abortion in the water like some of the far-right activists are suggesting?
I have not. You just said abortion in the water?
That's what some far-right activists are saying, that they have an audience in the EPA on that absurd issue.
Yeah, I have not had a conversation with anyone at the agency as far as abortions in water.
And you're not actively pursuing it or don't have groups of...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Let's watch this again. Abortion in the water.
Do you seriously believe there's abortion in the water like some of the far-right activists are suggesting?
I have not. You just said abortion in the water?
That's what some far-right activists are saying, that they have an audience in the EPA on that absurd issue.
Yeah, I have not had a conversation with anyone at the agency as far as abortions in water.
And you're not actively pursuing it or don't have groups of...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, kid. I'm not trying to be laughing on purpose. I'm sensing a folk song. There's abortion in the water. Abortion in the water. There's abortion in the water. This show is brought to you by IRSprob.com, IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. By the way, join us Tuesday, May 19th at 8 a.m. in front of Wylie East High School. There's the circle where we're going to be in. There will be no abortion in that water. I'll see you there Tuesday, May 19th, 8 a.m. in front of Wylie East High School. We're going to pass out Bibles, not Qurans, where they pass out those Qurans. Thank you, IRSPROB.com. I will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. I will be hosting. We'll have Congressman Keith Self from Collin County, where Wylie ISD is, and the Islamification of DFW. Keith Self will join us, Congressman, 7 p.m. tomorrow Central Time. We'll see you mañana.